Hi everyone, welcome to the One Code Camp channel. Today, we are embarking on a journey through the art of database cleanup, where we will dive into the delete and drop statements. So get ready to finesse your database management skills as we guide you through removing specific records, eliminating clutter, and streamlining your database structure. So let's get started.
Hi there, this is Billy Scott from One Code Camp, welcoming you to our another SQL tutorial series. And in this video, we're gonna learn another handy SQL statement called drop and delete. Now we're gonna learn more on how to use the statements and what's the difference between the two. So what are we waiting for? Come on, let's go. Hello there everyone, welcome back to our SQL tutorial series. And today, we're diving into two essential SQL commands. They are named delete and drop. But don't worry, if you're new to databases and SQL, we'll break down this concept in a simple and easy to understand way. So don't you worry. Now, to begin, let's just discuss a little bit about delete and drop. Now, let's start with delete. So the delete statement is actually used to remove one or more records from a database table. That's it. It is used to remove something or any records or data from a database table. Basically, it's like cleaning up unwanted data. And if you want to take a look at its syntax or to use delete, we have to follow this syntax. First is the delete statement, followed by from and the table name where you want to clean up some data. Then the where statement, followed by a condition. I think you are almost familiar with where since we've been using this from our previous tutorials. So there you have it. Don't forget, end it with a semicolon. So yeah, this is basically the syntax for deleting some data inside our database table. So it starts with delete, from, then followed by the table name, then the where, and the condition. So if we're gonna read this, it's basically telling us to delete from the table or delete the data from this table where it contains something like this or like that, depending on our given condition. So if we read this line by line, so delete from table or table name specifies the table from which we want to delete records. And the second line here, where condition, is actually defining the condition that we must met or that must be met for a record or a data to be deleted. Okay, so let's clarify the difference between delete and drop because they might function the same, but they are quite different. Delete and drop are created specifically for their own purposes. So if you can observe, a delete actually removes specific rows, okay? Specific rows from a table based on a condition. Basically, it only removes what? Data or record. It doesn't affect anything, okay? While drop, on the other hand, completely removes a table along with all its data and structure. It's just literally saying goodbye to the entire table. So let me just give it a comment. So this removes the table itself or the structure, including its record or data. So there you have it. I hope this is understandable. So delete actually removes the data or record, while drop removes the table itself or the structure, including the record and or the data. Now, I know it's kind of weird or it's really something new, but to better understand these concepts, we need to do some exercises so we can learn more through practice. And how to do that? Of course, we're gonna need to have our database for that. So first, we're gonna create our very own simple example database for our exercises. I'm gonna provide some exercises to make sure we know how to use delete and drop, okay? And that database that we will be creating, we're gonna name it tutorial DB. Now, don't worry too much. I'm just gonna delete all of this. And I actually just provided a code for you there where you can just copy from the description below this video and paste it here. There you go. So let me just read you through the code. Now we just create a database using create database statement and we named it tutorial DB. And then we use that schema or database to create a table called students with the following columns. Now we insert data into that students table. There you go. And then we created another table called orders. And that orders table will have this, what we called columns. And then we insert data into that table. Then we create another table called products and define its column. Then we provided another data. We insert data into that product table. And then lastly, we created a temporary data table and we add some values to it. We inserted these following records or data into that table. So basically that's it. And then all you have to do is click the Thunderbolt icon to run. And then if we refresh our schemas list here, there we have it. Now we got our tutorial DB, our database, the one that we created. And if we check the tables, we have the orders, products, students, and temporary data, which we will use later on for our activity. So if you're ready, let's just clear out our query one here. There you go. So let's start. Now, the first activity that we're going to do, or the exercise that we're going to do, is more about, let's start with learning the delete statement. Here, delete statement. So can you still remember what is our delete syntax? Okay, you guessed it right. It's delete, followed by from, then the table name where we're gonna clear up some record, and never forget where, and the condition. So always remember this, okay? And do not forget the semicolon. Now let me just comment this out. There we go. So yeah, let's go ahead and start with our first exercise. Are you ready? Great. So for our exercise number 1, it's kind of long. We break this down a bit. Okay. Let's comment this. Go. Now let's say we have a table and it's named students. So here we have students with column student ID, first name, last name, age. Let's check our students. Right click on the students table, then select row. There we have it. So it's exactly the same. Now delete all students whose age is greater than 25. Now let's take a look at the students table. So those who have age of 25. So we have David. Oh no, it's 25. It's above 25. So David should be good, but Michael Johnson should be removed together with John because their age is greater than 25. For those who have age 25 and below, like Jane, Emily, and David, they will be remained. Imagine if you have a long list of this in your table. Are you going to manually delete it? Of course not. That's why we have the delete statement. So how to do that? Now you can comment out your answer, or you can pause this video, then answer this. And if you're confident that you're done and you're finished, you can continue playing this video and check out the answer. So if you're done giving out your answer, let's go ahead and do this. So of course, do not forget, we're going to use the tutorial DB database schema. We should never forget that. And then what are we going to do next? Of course, we're going to insert here the delete syntax. I'm just going to leave it there. And then we're going to retrieve the updated table. So to do that, we use the select, followed by what? By an asterisk or star to select everything. From what? From the students table, because that's the table we're going to update. Okay. So this is just for retrieval purposes. Okay. This line here. The most important here actually is this delete syntax. So we're going to modify this. Now to begin, or before we begin, let me just read it to you. We're going to use the tutorial DB database schema, and then we're going to delete some of the records, and then we will retrieve the updated table. So are you ready? Let's go. Let's start with the delete syntax. So our delete syntax, as mentioned or as shown above, it's delete from the table name. So it's going to be delete from, what's the table name? It's students. Now what's the next line or statement? It's where. Now let's get the condition. What's the condition? Based on the exercise here, we need to delete all students. So all students so here's the condition, whose age is greater than 25. So how to write that? Age is greater than 25. And are we missing something? Of course, we're missing something. We're missing the semicolon. Always never forget the semicolon if you end a statement, okay? So there we have it. Let's read it again. Use tutorial DB database and delete data from the students table where their age are greater than 25. And then retrieve the current or the updated table. Now let's go ahead and run this. There you go. So we have now displayed our updated table. And if we don't do this, we cannot see this of course, because we did not retrieve it, but it is working. Even though if we do not show this one, even if we comment this out, it would still come up the same result. But I just use this and add this statement so that we could check the table here in our display. Okay, so let's check. So from the students, John and Michael should be removed. Here, only Jane, Emily, and David got remain. So yeah, basically it's done using it's done performing its function. So basically that's it. That's how delete works. It basically just delete the entire row of those that met the condition we provided. So let's go ahead and start with another exercise. Let me remove this one, and I think this one too. We might encounter, or we might use other table, because if you can see, we still have other 3 tables other than students. Let's check our exercise number 2. Okay, let me delete this. There we have it. And paste that. There. Okay. So for our exercise number 2, we've been tasked with cleaning up the orders table. Orders table, there you go. Let's right click into it. Select X rows. So this is the initial state of our orders table. We have the status, quantity, product name, and then the order ID. Now, we need to delete all orders with a status of cancelled. So are you thinking what I'm thinking on how to do this and how to attack this kind of scenario? And if you do, please provide your answer and then pause this video. And once you're done, you can unpause this to view my answer. And let's check if we have come up with the same idea. Okay? Great. So I assume that you're all done. Now let's go ahead and answer this. Now, let's go back to the syntax. So we have use tutorial DB as always, because we need to indicate which database are we going to use. And then we're going to delete something. So delete from, and let's check from the instruction or from the exercise which table we're going to use. So we're going to use the orders table. So that's the name of the table. Delete from the table orders. Where? Then provide the condition. What's the condition? All orders. Yeah, all orders that has a status of cancel. Let's check our orders. So here's the status. Now, the cancel should be deleted, so it should be removed together with gadget Y. Now, if we run our delete statement, we should have an updated table that would only have widget A, another widget A, and widget X as the remaining products. Now let's go back to our statement and provide the condition where the status is equals to what? Cancel. That's it. Now let's retrieve the data from that table. So select everything from the orders table. And that's it. So if you come up with the same answer, let's go ahead and run this. Click the Thunderbolt icon. And there you go. So let's check. The status remaining here is just ship, processing and ship. But previously, it's this one. Now to make sure that it's updated, let me show you. If I run this again, see, our database got updated. It's just showing the previous one because we run it before we modify the table. But if we refresh this and retrieve the data from our order, all those data that we removed is really removed. So please be careful when you're deleting something or dropping something or dropping the table, because it will be really deleted. Okay, so there you go. So basically that's it. It's just removing data or rows from your table. Now if you're ready enough, and I hope you're getting comfortable with using the delete syntax, let me remove this and this one too. Now let's go ahead and proceed with our drop statement exercises. Okay, so I just cleaned up my workbench. There you have it. It's magically disappeared, all the information or all the data that we had earlier, so that we can have a cleaner state or a clean slate. Okay, so let me just get the exercise. Okay, let me just write it here. Drop statement. So drop statement or drop table statement is actually pretty easy. So let me just paste the instruction. There you have it. So yeah, for our first exercise in drop statement, we have: you've completed a project and no longer need the temporary data table. Drop this table from the database. So for the syntax of drop statement, I almost forgot to mention. So it's just basically drop and then table to specify what structure are you gonna remove. So this could also be done with database. Okay, so I'm giving you a hint for our bonus later on. So again, it's drop, then indicate which structure. Let's say we're going to drop a table, so drop, then table, then space, the name of the table that we're going to drop. So basically, this is the statement. It's basically just like that. It's so simple and it's easy. Now let's go ahead and give your answer for our exercise number 1 in drop statement, and pause this video. And once you're done, you can unpause this, okay? Okay, so I think you're done. Let's go ahead and give you the answer. So let's use the syntax. It's drop table. Says here we're gonna drop the table called temporary data. Let's check it. It's temporary data. There you go. Temporary data. Basically, that's it. Then just end with a semicolon. But where is this temporary data? Do not forget the use. Use what? Use the tutorial DB, which is the name of our database schema. Because where should the system delete this kind of table? Of course, we need to indicate which table or which database is that table included or from. Okay, now let's just go ahead and run this. There we have it. If we can see the output here, it's already done. And if we check our tutorial DB, the temporary data is already gone. Okay, so basically it's just that simple. I hope you're able to get it. Okay, so now let's proceed to our second exercise. So you accidentally created a table called mistake. Now let's remove this mistake, and since we don't have any mistakes table here, let's change it to, let's say, students. Okay, or let's say it's the products. There you have it. And you need to get rid of it. So drop the products table. So how to do that? And let's add something a bit. Oh, let me just continue the use. And okay, so one more thing, make it a safe drop. So what do you mean by this? Okay, so just let me know how to use just let me know if you know how to use this, or you can just give me your answers. Okay, there's no wrong answer here, and if there is, we're gonna check it out later. So just pause the video if you think you know the answer, and then if you're ready to get, or if you're ready for the answer reveal, just play the video. Okay, so now let's go ahead and reveal the answer. So this is just an additional to make it safe. Now the same thing, it's still drop the table. So drop table, and then the name of the table, which is products. Then end with a semicolon. But to make it safe, we need to add this if exists statement. Okay, or clause. So if exists is actually just a safety measure, and simply it just checks if the table products is actually existing or is in that database before we attempt to drop it. Basically, that's it. It's just checking if this products table really is inside that tutorial DB. So this is just for safety measures, and this is especially useful to avoid accidentally deleting a table that may not be present. Okay, so make sure to put a practice adding this if you're gonna drop a table. Okay, so again, it's drop table, and then we just added if exists, then the table name. Now let's go ahead and run this. Okay, here you have an error. Okay, so we have to check the manual that corresponds to MySQL server. That's okay, so let's try to put it this way. Let's just remove this, run this. There you have it. So if we use this drop table exists, it doesn't necessarily need to use the or specify which database we are using, just to make sure that if this table exists, then that table will be deleted. Okay, so I think we're good. And lastly, what if we are going to delete our tutorial DB? What are we going to do? Which statement, or what statement should we add? Remember, I dropped a hint later on drop statement. You can change this table into any structure that you want to drop. So how to do that? Okay, basically you can just that's one good thing about Workbench. You can just right click here and then drop schema. But with this, you can also have it like this one, drop table, or actually not table, because we're not deleting the table, and we're dropping the whole database. So just skin drop database there, and the database name, which is tutorial DB. Now let's go ahead and run this. There you have it. So our tutorial DB is now not present here, and even though if you refresh this, it's not going back. So be very careful when you're dropping a structure or dropping a table or even just deleting a row, because it's really gonna clean up. Okay, so I think that's it. And I hope that you learned a lot on how to use delete and drop statement in SQL. And again, delete helps us to clean up specific records, while drop allows us to say goodbye or bid our farewell to the entire table or even to the entire database. Now, to remember, or just remember, practice makes perfect, so keep honing your SQL skills with more exercises. And thank you once again for watching, and see you in our next tutorial.